I've started the same goal more times than I can count. Always quit, always feeling like a failure. And that destroyed my confidence. Super bad. Until I figured out how to avoid the same 5 traps that kept me stuck in a loop over and over again. Now, I have done 365 plus days of middle split stretching and consecutively. We'll talk about how I did that, but first, let's get some context. Every January 1st, I used to make a big list of things to do. I said to myself, this is gonna be the year where I transform. And inevitably, on that list would be the middle splits. I would rewatch the same very familiar YouTube video tutorials, and I would get that first workout done. I'd feel that rush of motivation. And then 2 weeks later, I'd miss my first workout, maybe 2. And at some point, it stopped feeling like, oh, I just didn't stretch today. It started feeling like I'm not the person who follows through. Way more heartbreaking. By February, usually, I'd have dropped off completely. And I'd say something to myself like, oh, I didn't need the splits anyway. What do I need those for? But that was a lie. I told myself that so I could avoid the real pain, the feeling that I'd failed again. But I realized that crushing sense of failure wasn't just impacting my stretching, my fitness, it was impacting and destroying my confidence in everything that I did. Because if you can't trust yourself to follow through on the thing that you said mattered to you, how can you trust yourself to do anything at all? So what changed? How did I go from quitting every single February to doing 365 plus days consecutively of side splits? Well, it starts with understanding the 5 traps. Trap number 1 is the all or nothing mentality. You miss one workout and you're like, oh no, I've ruined everything. Perfectionism kills momentum faster than anything else. You're not failing because you missed one day. You're failing because you think that missing one day ruins the whole entire thing. And then one day becomes 1 week, and 1 week becomes 2 weeks. And after that, you have fallen off completely. But here's the truth. Consistency isn't about perfectionism. Consistency is stumbling and then getting right back on anyway. That's the actual skill. Trap number 2 is unrealistic expectations. We want instant results. We want to start a program and in 2 weeks we want to have a transformation. Transformations take time. It took you years, maybe decades to become who you are today. It's going to be really hard for you to transform into a new person tomorrow. But here's the truth. Change is happening. You're changing your habits, you're changing your mindset, you're building a foundation. So don't be so obsessed with visible results that you give up on the process before it's had a chance to really work. Trap number 3 is chasing someone else's goals. Be honest with yourself. Most people, most resolutions are about things that you think you should want, not what you actually want. Do you actually want to run a marathon, or do you want that because you saw your friend do it first? Or do you actually want to get shredded, or is it because you want the attention of a certain somebody? When you're chasing someone else's definition of success, it makes it much, much harder for you to keep going when the situation gets hard and when it gets challenging. Trap number 4 is treating symptoms and not the cause. I'll stop snacking, for example. Okay, but are you going to figure out why you start snacking when you're stressed? Are you going to figure out the source of your stress? Most resolutions tackle the surface level behavior, but not the underlying situation, and that's why they don't stick. You need to understand the why behind your habits, not just try to willpower and white knuckle and fight your way through. Trap number 5 is waiting for permission. This one's subtle, but it's that the January 1st is not a magical day. In fact, it's probably really bad luck. There's got to be 10 times, maybe 100 times more failures to New Year's resolutions than successes. So why are you waiting? Why are you letting the momentum just disappear? Why are you sitting on the sidelines waiting for some arbitrary day to tell you it's time? Stop waiting, start now. Here's what I found actually works. Small, consistent action. Not some elaborate 90-day body transformation plan, not the perfect day. Small, consistent action. I still don't have my middle splits, but I have made more progress in the last year than I have in the last 10 years combined. And that's because I started with 2 minutes of side split-ish stretching. Then eventually I grew into 5, and then 10, and then 15 minutes. And now I spend an hour every single day doing live side split stretching on YouTube and TikTok. Start today, start messy, start imperfect, start. Don't lose momentum to a random calendar date, because here's what I've learned. Consistency starts giving you things that you never thought were possible, like progress, real, measurable progress. And better yet, confidence, real, unshakable confidence, because you're proving to yourself every single day, one day at a time, that you can follow through, that you can trust yourself, and that you don't need an arbitrary day to start becoming the person that you want to be. Look, I get it. Everything I said sounds nice, but how do you actually build consistency? How do you go from the person who quits every February and become the person who does 365 days in a row of side splits? I've done it, and I can tell you it is not about motivation. It's not about willpower. I run out of those like 5 minutes after I get out of bed if I don't get a good night's sleep. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a perfect day. You just need to start right now, pronto, today, because real progress comes when you are intentional, when you are consistent, and when you take action. It's not about perfection. It's not about doing 100 hours of research on YouTube. It is about taking action. But there is one thing. And that one thing is, in the next video, I'm going to tell you about the 5 rules, principles that really helped me to keep on track for 365 plus days of consistency. I'll share the techniques that take you from I'll try to I did, the systems that help me make consistency manageable and maintainable. So make sure to hit subscribe, because if you miss the next video, you might keep making the same mistakes, and come January next year, you're gonna keep making promises that are gonna be so hard to keep. We don't want that. We wanna make these easy. Let's do it. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.